like to introduce the one, the only, me.
All right, folks, squiddies, it is me, Dragon Tattoo Squid Podcast, with the ladies, my favorite ladies of the mic, the Crime Diner Podcast, Nydia, Cindy, and Dana. Welcome to the humble abode of the sea.
Hi.
Thank you so
Hey.
much.
It's too early, and I don't know why I'm so hyper. I only have one cup of coffee. And I swear, it's just one fucking cup of coffee. That's it. No.
That's all it takes, I think.
No, it was decaf too, so that was.
Oh no, that's so
Just your
shameful.
natural essence, then.
I'm like naturally fucking hyper sometimes. You know, my girlfriend's like, settle down. It's 5 in the morning. Yeah. I'm like, that's when I have to go to work. I'm like, shit. So how you ladies doing?
We're
Good.
fantastic, yeah.
And now you have a change of the name of Wine Dine Storytime to Crime Diner Podcast.
Mhm.
Now, from what you told me previously, that this is something that you didn't want to do somewhat, it just fell into your hands of the first one, like Wine Dine Storytime, telling, going through research after research after research, like going back to college kind of shit, and just talking about everything from molestations to killings to whatever you find and everything else. Now this is something like you want to do something like this, like talk to people, I guess, from what I've heard, I guess.
So when Nydia and I initially started the podcast, Wine Dine and Storytime, and you probably know from just starting a podcast, it sort of takes a life of its own, where like initially we were like, we just want to like talk to people, and like we personally like to eat, so let's cook and we'll drink some wine. And it just sort of snowballed into what Wine Night and Storytime was. And we realized, like, not being professional journalists or interview people, that maybe it wasn't as easy as we thought it would be to have guests with interesting stories and how to get them to pull the story out of them without us being sort of professional. So it turned into what Wine Dining Storytime was, where Nydia told a story, I told a story, we cooked food and drank wine, and then we were like, actually, we kind of suck at this food part. Maybe we should pull Cindy in. She's the best. She's been on, she's Nydia and Cindy are cousins, so it was just an easy, puzzle piece that really made the show come together.
Mhm.
But it never really felt like genuinely us. So when we took a break for a couple of months and we reworked some things, that's where we made the Crime Diner fit a little bit better for us.
Yeah.
Well, I think the name kind of never we've been podcasting for over 2 years, and it just never reached the listenership that we thought we were going to get initially. And I think the name had a lot to do with it, because the stories that we tell are like true crime in nature, true crime related. Not always, but most of them are. Dana likes to do a lot of interesting things throughout history. And those are some of our more fun episodes, even though history is not my favorite, but we can laugh at those. Now, I like to do things that are very morbid in nature. So that's hard to mix comedy, which we mostly are. We are a comedy podcast that also shares true crime, but it's hard to incorporate that. So the fact that we had, two stories at the same time, sort of like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, it was hard to fit the story time theme. So it just, what our show was didn't really reflect what the name was. So that's how we switched around to the Crime Diner, because we are eating, it is New Jersey, we should say, and we just talk about crime in all facets of it. So
yeah, like I was saying, Jersey's known for its diners. So of course, as we're Jersey, of course we had to incorporate the diner part. Then the big thing was, since I'm the one that's on Twitter, so we kept
She just loves putting that out there, that she does all the work.
Yeah.
I'm the boss. I did it.
Absolutely.
It's all me.
It's me. It's my fault. But when people were like promoting us or tagging us and stuff, they were tagging us in like book or literary stuff and podcasts that had to do with books and literature. And we were like,
We don't read books.
No. I mean, y'all read books, but y'all don't read books. I mean, the podcast wasn't based on a literary thing. And I think the word story time was confusing for some people in that aspect.
Right.
And while they were telling stories, they were actually telling a lot of true crime and history and real stories, true stories. And the goal initially for them was to do interviews in between doing real stories. So
Yeah.
and that's not going to go away. It's just not going to be the focus as it was initially when it first started.
Well, Dana said that when we first started doing interviews, we thought, oh, we're just going to get people and they're going to share the stories like we share the stories.
Yeah.
Like we add every detail. Nobody has to, say, hey, what? So then what happened? We just we word diarrhea,
Yeah.
And when we would get guests, say again?
I said, we don't ever stop talking.
Right. So, but we found that we would get a guest with an incredible story and they would just sit there and not give a lot. And so part of the professionalism of interviewing somebody is you have to know how to pull these stories out of them in a way that gets them really talking and natural. And we didn't have that. So interviewing people was a real struggle for us. And we have some great interviews. We interviewed the son of the Signal Mountain murder, the guy that went down for that murder. We interviewed him. We interviewed quite a few people, but
a woman who had a domestic violence attack.
Yeah, she had a machete to the face. I mean,
yeah, that was a great, but that those were our two later interviews. Like in the beginning when we were just interviewing our friends, that I have a friend that found a body in the woods by our house. We were like, this is an amazing story. And it was pulling teeth. And I'm like, I've heard this story. I was here when it happened. I know it's a cool story, but we just didn't know how to do it, in the beginning.
Well, I know I heard many, the very first 2 or 3, episodes in the beginning, I was driving and all of a sudden it's all right. And she made this kind. I'm like, wait a minute, what? They made food? And here's a Chianti, and here's a red wine that goes. I'm like, I'm driving, going I'm getting fucking hungry here. I just ate already.
Well, we decided, we were like, what is the thing that would be least effective for audio entertainment? Yeah. Food. You can't taste it. You can't smell it. You can't see what it looks like. We're going to talk about it on a podcast. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Yeah, they were listening to you. You're like, listen, we're going to the diner. We're getting something to eat. Why? Because I'm fucking hungry.
Well, the thing was that we would always get together to eat, or you go out to dinner or something, and we would bring up the most inappropriate conversation at dinner. And we're with our friends, so who cares if we're talking about murder? We're eating and we're talking about murder. But quickly, very early on, the food just became a real pain in the ass for us to write a story, research it, and also cook. It just was it was a lot. But
hence the reason why I'm here. And you get those food pictures every Thursday, where you drool.
But we're kind of I consider our podcast kind of like the Dollop, but with food.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
See, now I'm hoping that we can do I said this one time before. I'm like, we should get everybody that's on the East Coast, just all get together and do
I'd love that.
Go what was it? We did before Thanksgiving or something. We had a little picture saying, hey, we should do this. Have every podcast or something. Just do a round table. And I'm like, even something simple like coffee or some shit. Sit there, and especially you're just gonna sit there with regular people over there, and you're talking about murder, and you're like, yeah, they hit him with the cleaver, and you hear him go. I just want my murder over there. It's your podcast is. Oh, okay. Commence. And it'll be like that. Harry met Sally. I'll have what she's having. But also I just I love the fact that it's just the 3 of you, and then you do jokes in between, and you talk about it, and it's very shocking on how you do all the deep dive and all that. How long does the deep dive go? I mean, do you do like, oh, I'm just gonna spend like a day or two and see what I can find, or is it just goes on and on and like, listen, I got enough shit, let's do it now.
For me, it depends on the story. So this week that we just recorded, I did a story about a Greek serial killer. And it was really difficult because there's just not as much information as maybe if I was doing the story on when I did the Unabomber. There's a million websites and a million, so it really, really depends on where you're getting your information from. Sometimes if there's a book or somebody wrote an autobiography or somebody wrote, so if there's information, like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm 15 pages in. This is going to be a 3-hour episode if I don't cut this down. So it really depends on, how much information, how into the story you really are, which was part of the reason why we changed the format of the show, was that we tried to fit each episode into a theme. And now we get to like express ourselves a little bit better. Of the stories we want. So really now we're just like blah 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 about whatever the topic is.
Yeah, but then you always get like a funny feel of it, especially when they're talking about this and this, and you're like, why did he do that,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, because I'm just glad that that when you do a segment, you're doing the whole thing, and then you don't go like, oh, by the way, we're gonna do this part 2 next week, and then
that very rarely happens for us.
No, I know, but I mean, there is like, so I'm not gonna name any names, I'm not gonna name a podcast or anything like that, like Mouse After Midnight. But anyway, because like I was listening to one of their episodes and it's like, oh, this and this. I'm like, I'm getting intrigued. I'm like, before I'm going to work, I'm like, okay, and then we'll give you part 2 next week. Fuck, why now? I'm like, shit. Like,
well, I feel your pain because there are some podcasts that will have like part 1, part 2, part 3, and I listen to podcasts on my way to when I'm driving. Yeah. So that's usually, or when I'm doing chores around the house. So, or exercising, whatever. But usually it's, I want to one and done. I want to find the whole story from the start to finish. And with the exception of maybe one episode that we did where it had to be a 2-part series because the interviewer, the person that we had on, was interviewing.
She was riveting, and we just couldn't stop her.
Yeah, she was talking. Her story was just it was amazing, and it was sad. Yeah. We couldn't just like cut it short, and there was really nothing that we could cut out of her story because it was so much information there. So that was the only time that we did it. But normally, I like to have a story from start to finish and give all the information right then and there, because I feel like it's annoying. You want to find out the end result. You don't want to wait till the following week, and
right.
And I think that this format lends itself more to that because we can spend more time on the story that we came to deliver. Not that we didn't before, but because we were doing 2 stories at one segment, it was going to take, we had to shorten our stories down because sometimes I could go on and on about a story, and like it takes me all of 7 days to do research on a story that I really, really feel passionate about. And I feel like you can tell because when I did the Chupacabra, I went all the way with that story. Yeah. I mean, all the way. I went back to my roots with that story. So, and sometimes I look at court documents and, that's lengthy. So we try to do as much research as we can because, and another thing that I do is if I'm telling a story that's been told a million times, I go and I research what other podcasts are talking about. And if they're talking too much about that, I'll maybe make a mention of it, but I won't spend too much time on it because you've heard it before. So what I do is I try to find the stuff that hasn't been talked about and then focus a little more on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you focus on it, and then there's like stuff that you don't even know, and then you come around and you be like, what the thy fuck?
Yeah, those are the nuggets, like especially when you tell a story.
Yeah, I'm like, I use that phrase at work sometimes. I'm like, again, like, we need you to unload a truck. What the thine fuck? Do I? Where'd you get that from? I'm like, listen, Wine Dine Story Time. It has some good fucking phrases.
What time fuck?
What time? I'm like,
that was so funny.
But I like
That was a
I like
great
when-
episode.
Yeah, I like the when you have like in Instagram with the new Crime Diner podcast where you have, all right, this is what the serving and here's your server and
That
this
was
is
very
what-
cute. That was all Cindy. Yeah, that was
yeah,
really
I
cute.
was like, oh wow, they're doing that theme right down to the fucking bowl,
Mhm.
and you know,
I don't know if we congratulated you on that. That was I saw that too. I was like, that was a nice touch. Great job.
yeah, I
Thanks.
was like, nice. I'm like, oh shit, me, I'm trying to still figure out. I'm like, oh, how do I get the squid to do this? And
Well, it's so funny too when you're like, I want to start a podcast. I'm going to talk into a microphone with my friends, and you just like, for me, I just had no clue how much, even like you're saying, just the squid, like you want to like make it, you could obsess about what the image looks like. You obsess
Yeah.
about what the name is, the theme song, and every aspect of it. And you're just like, that wasn't my, like that wasn't a thing that I thought we were going to be spending tons and
Yeah.
tons of time talking about,
Yeah, because I do we call when I'm thinking about because everybody's like, oh, what are we gonna name it? I'm like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden I look down at my license plate and I'm like, Tattoo Squid Podcast. Okay, yeah, that would be it. So, well, it just says Tattoo Squid because I always wanted because I have it's an octopus, but I don't know if you can really see it because of the whole background.
Yeah.
But there is a squid that's like right underneath Poseidon. We call it the king of the water. And it's an octopus, but I like squids because they're a little bit meaner, and octopuses are a little bit more docile.
Yeah.
So I'm somewhat of a mean person, not all the time. Whenever I get pissed off or I don't get my food on time.
Yeah, right.
So, but that's about it. But I'm trying to figure out how to do it, and thank God I had friends. Like the first one I did with the blue background, and I had like the little squid, and I'm like. Really? A little comic book one? I'm like, okay, well, fuck it, I'll just use that until I get something better. Then I found a friend of mine. Her son is a computer graphic artist, and I'm like, listen, can you do me a solid and do this and maybe in a suit wearing tattoos, And then he did. He brought it full force, and I was like, shit. And now I'm trying to think of other shit to put, together. I'm like, hey, I'm calling everybody squiddies and squid army. I'm like, can you just make one that has a whole bunch of squids, in an army, but fun loving, going, with utensils, going to
fun loving squid army.
with utensils going to this crime. Yeah. But what goes on now for Crime Diner podcast? How is it just going to be Crime Diner Podcast, or is it going to be a different name after that? Yeah.
No, I think
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
think for we've changed it. We're sticking with it. We feel good about it.
Yeah.
And I just hopefully from here we'd like to just see it grow in a in an organic way that we just feel good about.
Yeah, because some people say that I'm like, when I do a podcast, I'm like, I haven't really rest. I've been doing every week. And
Yeah.
I do podcasts this is with right now. This weekend, you're the third podcast I did for the show.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I do, but it doesn't go 2 or 3 days after certain podcasts. They'll go oh, we're doing this episode. It'll come out Wednesday. No, it's this goes in order of this was probably gonna be coming out the end of March probably because of how many more I got 12 to 15 other episodes I got.
That's great. That's good.
For 2 years while we did this podcast, we didn't take a single break, not one break. Every week we produced a podcast episode, and some of those episodes were between an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours even.
Yeah.
And so taking that break to change the name, which we mulled that over for a very long time, the name change. We weren't sure if it was going to hurt us. And then we just got to the point where life just got too hectic and we were like, what the hell? We don't do this for a living. Let's just freaking do what we have to do, change the name. And it is what it is. If we lose followers, we lose followers. If we lose listeners, we lose listeners. And we're feeling really good about it. We took a 6-week break or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that, if anything, whether we ever take off or not, it's what we needed to do at the time, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
You need to wind down and not be. I'm not gonna say stressed, but you get like, you gotta get like
No, it's
lie down and.
I mean, it's a full other job. Like, I mean, it's I don't know, your production process, but like we do, it's just the three of us. We do every aspect of it. We outsource some of the artwork here and there, but those are to like family and friends do that for us,
Nah.
And I mean, Cindy, last week we said, what time are we going to record? How long do you need? She's like, well, I need 6 hours to cook. And I'm like, it takes me 6, 8, 10 hours to edit, and Nydia, to writing the stories. So it's like a whole other job. And that was the part of it that we were like, these are like my best friends, and I want this to be fun. And that's where we are with it now. Like we want it to be fun.
Yeah,
and it's not like other podcasts where you can do your research, and even if everybody does a research, you can record like 2 or 3 episodes in a weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
We can't because there's food involved. So it's not like, okay, so we can only really record 1 episode a day.
Yeah.
And so it kind of holds us back as far as, doing that, building up a bunch of episodes.
Right.
And then of course, you got 3 people that want to live, and so outside of the podcast, so we're like, I'm not seeing you 3 days in a row or 4 days in a row.
Yeah, we record, if one of us goes away, we'll be like, okay, we have to record 2 or 3 episodes so that we're not, and by the end of that, you're like, we're good. We're all good.
We're good.
I'll see you in 3 weeks.
So don't get killed. Don't get killed in those 3 weeks, but I don't want to see you before then.
And speaking of not get killed, you guys, and this is what I was saying about the point of working, like not taking a break. When you guys go camping, you're still doing the podcast, like, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm watching this, like, where the hell did they put the plugs?
Oh, I was just talking about this recently, that when we did that was fully psychotic. Like we had battery packs, we had lighting, I remember taking a step back at that during that whole thing and being like, what are we doing? This is a full ass production, like a stage performance. And we're 3 girls from New Jersey with no, never taken a editing class, a performance class, an intern, nothing. It was crazy.
Camping? No.
So that was a whole Patreon thing. It was like, if we reached and it was a goal, and it was a bet that Dana made. And she said, if we reach X amount of patrons, you guys are going to have to go camping with me. And we're like, me and Nydia are like, camping? What? Camping? Us? No, that's where you get murdered in the woods. No, we don't do that. We reached the patron count goal. And so we had to do what we had to do. We went camping. Yeah. And we did the live show, which is what Nydia was talking about, the Chupacabra episode. Yeah. That's what she did. Chupacabra. We did the cryptids during that episode. And Dana covered the Jersey Devil, because we're in Jersey, and it was just, we had battery packs, we had
it was crazy
things. It was insane, but it was awesome. We had live people actually sitting in the audience for the episode, and we actually shared it live for the patrons. Yes.
And Nydia and Cindy will never admit this, but they loved it. They fucking loved it. They want to go camping in the woods again. They want to have a fire. They want to sleep in a tent with me. They loved it.
Never again. I literally go to bed every night and say a little prayer. Thank you, God, that I'm not camping.
But I can see yourself doing that too. Come on,
she loved it.
I've seen it. I've seen it, baby.
I skid out of that parking lot.
She would have if Dana hadn't. I had made breakfast and we had coffee, and she made sure everything was packed away as soon. I mean, she was making sure everything was packed up so that she didn't have to feel guilty for just screeching out of the parking lot from where we
which
were.
She's famous for with our record. The minute we clink our glasses at the end of the podcast, you just see a Scooby-Doo ghost of Nydia like outlined. She pieces out of the podcast room so fast.
I'm a camping person, so I love going camping, and there is
It's
certain
fun.
people that don't like camping, but they'll go just to say, okay, listen, I went,
Yeah.
and then when to do it. But then, like, I had a friend of mine, I'm not gonna name any names. Honestly, I'm not. But she goes in there and she brings a microwave, and I'm like, and the place had like electricity, so they had outlets like
Oh,
certain things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you're deep in the woods like Friday the 13th. It was
Yeah.
like more like
Like an
a
RV place.
neighborhood thing near the highway that
Yeah.
you could be able to go home and get something, come back or whatever. But we had lighting and everything else, and they plugged it in, and she goes, "Oh, I brought my microwave," and I'm like, "Why?" And then
That's
she
the
had a
least thing you
blender and a
need.
coffee pot, and I'm like, and then me and my friend Key, and me and him are like the woodsman kind of people, and we're going, the fuck? I'm like, listen, hand me a Jaeger. We're just gonna drink. That's it. And
There are many luxuries to bring, but a microwave would not be it for me.
I don't know. She wanted to bring an air condition.
Yes,
She
I
wanted
can
to
see
bring
that. I'll
that
give
like
you that.
I'm like,
You
air
were lucky.
condition is sleeping naked and just making sure the wind blows the right way. You're like, oh, son of a bitch. But it was like we always had fun, and at least, like you said, you had fun. It
Right.
was great,
Mhm.
But the light, I'm like, holy shit! They got like a lighting crew, and then
Mhm.
they kind of like a backdrop canopy looking, like
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
bed,
the
a
lean-to.
lean-to. Like the
Yeah.
the
campsite had
lean-to.
a lean-to in there, and so
Yeah,
that's where we were able to set up everything. Yeah, it was
We
pretty
got
cool.
really lucky with that. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
Dana had her first cup of coffee.
Well, she
Yeah.
made us coffee.
I
She
made
never made
coffee. Yeah.
coffee.
I
She
thought you
I
were
made
don't
us
drinking
drink it.
coffee too.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't drink it.
I'm sorry. But coffee's not really that bad. You can have one and be happy. Like, I had the coffee. Oh, well.
Yeah. It's so funny because people will, especially like coffee purists, like Cindy, whatever, they'll always just try it like this. You'll love it. And I'm like, I don't like it. Like, try it. You're gonna love it. Put this kind of cream in it and put this. I'm like, I hate it. I tried. I hate it.
So, out of all of yous, who is like the more movie bound, like horror? Because you figure you're going camping, you got to do like some kind of horror stuff. Plus, you're always doing a deep dive on really, like, I'm not saying disgusting, but stuff that women don't really go in deep dive, stuff. It's like, hey, we're gonna look for this serial killer, and we're gonna talk about this, and But
So
are you fans of horror movies or?
I would say out of the three of us, it would have I don't know about movies specifically, but I think Nydia is the one drawn most towards the gruesome.
Yeah.
Um, but if we're talking just about movies, like I love a horror movie. Like I love like a psychological thriller. I love, when I was a kid, when I was a little small child, my grandpa used to like I watched all of the Friday the 13th with him and Freddy and all. So like I was like raised on like gore and stuff.
Yeah.
But when we're picking stories, Nydia is definitely the more
See, the
gruesome.
funny thing is that Dana likes to be scared. She loves thrill rides. She loves to watch the movies. She likes things that are pretend scary.
Yeah.
I like things that are real scary.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I like to know about the corners of the mind that are just I like to hear about the most gruesome things. And not because I enjoy it, because I hate to see it. Like I would never watch a YouTube video of somebody getting beheaded or anything like that. I don't like to see that kind of stuff
Right.
or anything gruesome like that. But I do love to hear about it. I don't know why. I don't know
I think what
ever since I was a
interests
wee little
me,
girl.
what interests me when Nydia tells those stories specifically is like the mentality behind what could make someone have these desires or drives or whatever. And as far as like women are concerned or I think it sort of comes for me or like within the community is like we feel like it's good to like understand our surroundings and what makes us vulnerable and what makes us susceptible to, you know, a murderer, a rapist, you know, whatever. And it does sort of like put you, it feels, whether it's true or not, it puts you a little more prepared to walk to your car at night when you're by yourself from the mall, or to, walk home from whatever, or when, I live alone and it's like my closet fell in the middle of the night and I was like, I didn't know what the sound was. And I was like, cover myself with a blanket. And I was like, they can't get me if they can't see me.
And you got that one person, you see all those gifts, like you got like the evil person just sleeping next to you going,
yeah.
You know? And then the one guy, he's like, come on, like, you know.
I think for me, it knowing and hearing about all these horrible things puts my own life into perspective. You know, if you're driving to a job you hate, you're like, well, at least I'm not getting murdered. You know what I mean? So,
or just park next to the street light, you know. So that
it does give you those little like I mean, I still do not terrible, but like things that some people would think that is not very smart, like, camping in the woods or whatever. I still do all those things because I'm like, you know what, we got to live our lives and I enjoy it and it makes me happy and, whatever. But I still.
Yeah, I've got to say, we always make fun of Dana because, Nydia has a phrase at the end of our podcast that says, don't go to the second location. And we always make fun of Dana because Dana goes to the second location at least once a week. And it's like, dude, that being said, Nydia was also in somebody's house from a Craigslist post. And it's like, dude, you walked willingly into the second location with the Craigslist killer, or somebody that could be the Craigslist killer.
Right into the basement.
These ladies are insane.
Well, and that's the funny part of it too, is like when it's happening, like when you realize you've done it, you're like, oh no, I talk about this every week. Like, how did I get myself here?
Hold on, wait. I'm just writing down stuff because I always do the what the hell do they call it? Episode art. So whatever stuff that we talk about, blah 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 blah. Think of it as like a therapist or something. Or, but I'm writing that stuff down. It's like, oh, she does not like being scared. Like, well, keep the lights on and be covered.
Yeah.
But no, I do like episode art where most of the people, and apparently I'm like famous for this shit. So I'm like, me. But I'll do like what was the last one I did? Like say Manic Pixie,
Abigail.
Abigail. And then so I'll do stuff where we're talking about Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, books, authors, was it the Eternal movies, and everything else, and I'll put all that shit like just jumbled it right in there, and then that's what we talked about. So,
that's cool.
I try to do that, and then I'll put down like, Tattoo Squid, presents, this one. It's like a marquee like in there as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. So I try my best to do it better, and I always run it by my girlfriend because she's like, oh, I like that. That's cool. I don't know how you did that. And then when I did one for somebody else, just plain out of view and just like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this real quick. And she goes, yeah, that's not your best work. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it. When the time comes, I'll go and do it. Usually I just do it like the day of. So, and then I'll just be able to get like something down. So when I write everything down and I'm like, oh, I got some good stuff, so. But all right, this is a crazy question. Now, do you think any of you are going to like own a diner since you have this whole crime diner thing and you're in Jersey and everybody has diners and
No. And I'll tell you one thing. Here's people always ask me because I cook and I love to cook and people love my food. And people always ask me, why don't you do this for a living? Right. And I said, because I enjoy it. Last thing I want is somebody telling me how I should cook my food. And I enjoy seeing people eating the food and actually you could see how much they enjoy it with each bite. Right. And last thing I want to do is cook professionally for people that are gonna turn around and be like, you could have done this better, and I'm gonna be like, fuck you. And
And we literally do that every episode.
but you're family, so that's different.
Right.
I mean, I take your abuse willingly, but
You signed up for this.
I signed up for this. I know
okay.
what I'm walking into. But to get paid and then people saying, "Oh, but I paid you for this. It should be better." And I'm gonna be like, "You walked in here willingly and you paid for it. You get what you get." And then I'll lose customers.
Well, I mean, no, but that's diner though. That's diners. You got like the whole list of what your specialities are, and you're like, oh, I want that, and screw the people going to like the schools and like you gotta do a certain way. Oh, let me go and put this little seaweed shit on top of the thing, and make it a little better. Hey, by the way, let me go and grab this mustard and just make a line go, and that's it. Like that is art. I'm like, no, it's fucking food. But no, but I mean, like when you're doing a diner thing, you're making food and it's a list, and they're like, all right, let me have that, and they're not going to go and give you, their opinion about it. I'm like, they went there because they want the food. It's like me if I was doing tattoos. I'm like, okay, they didn't come here because you got a podcast. No, I can make tattoos.
Right.
But I don't do tattoos. I do stick figures, but that's a whole different thing. I'm not going to get $100 worth of that shit. So, but. Where goes now? Does it tie in with all your work? Like when you do your regular work, does it kind of take a?
We're all completely different. I mean, I kind of do social work and work in social services with youth.
Yeah.
Dana, go ahead. You tell them what you
I'm
do.
a massage therapist at a spa in a hotel.
And I'm a special ed teacher.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So none of it ever has anything to do with anything.
Well, no, I mean, I was like, certain people like, listen, I got this, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this episode after I finish doing this kind of, whatever job they have,
Yeah.
Because like me, I always do mine like either like just Friday, like Friday night, or Saturday, or even Sunday. Sundays are just like whenever, I don't have the time for like Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
I'll put it on Sunday, and then that's the time because I have Fridays, like Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, like normal work hours.
Yeah.
And it works out like that. But then like, oh, can we do like a Tuesday or Wednesday? I'm like, oh, I usually go to sleep by 9. I'm like, especially when you're talking to people from like England or South Africa or whatever. It's like 6 in the morning, but you got to be doing the thing. I mean. No, I mean, but you work around it, so yeah.
Right. I mean, ideally, we
record on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday if it's early, but we try not to like do this to ourselves. We don't do this to ourselves on the weekdays because we all have to go to work the next morning.
We may do like Patreon stuff on the weekdays because we don't have to meet in person. So because especially for the episode to work, since again we're eating, so that way we have to meet in person, so we have to work with that work schedule around our work schedules and cooking time for me.
It's funny, Cindy didn't come. Cindy didn't join us, didn't join the show until after they lifted up a few of the really strict coronavirus restrictions, because Dana and I went all those months without seeing each other, and that was a challenge. We'd have to meet each other in parking lots and
switch food. Yeah, like one would only eat dessert, one would only eat dinner, and once we did sort of have a little bit of restriction lifting, we like met in the high school parking lot and like had a little picnic between our cars, and it was actually so fun. Really like it really was. It was an interesting way to deal with that, but
I didn't join them until after 40 some episodes. Like they were 40 some episodes in when I joined them.
The other thing too, as far as like scheduling for the three of us, and the food and the situation, like, they'll get here poured at like 5 o'clock and they won't leave till 11, 12 midnight, whatever. And because eating is an hour and dessert, and we're like, talking about work and talking about other you know, our relationships, and we're all still really like friends with each other, so like it just like devolves into this whole big thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
scheduling can sometimes be an issue because
And
we
here's
love
my
each other and talk to each other too much.
and here's my other question: how is the candy canes?
Oh, Nydia was eating candy canes on one of the episodes one time, and we had to tell her, "You have to stop."
Nydia eating on the podcast, that is it's the bane of my existence, is the food of the podcast, because especially once we start drinking, because once we start drinking she doesn't stop eating, so she's like talking with food in her mouth, chewing food, crunching ice, like just being, she's very loud. She's like the worst sound person to have in your corner when you're trying to
Cindy
edit.
Cindy's the worst sound person.
Cindy hiccups. Cindy has like stomach things, so you'll hear on the mic like and then burps like she's like a 70-year-old man that
That's
has
Nydia
gastric
that burps like a
issues.
70-year-old man.
And I'm just like,
Folks, you're hearing this first on
Nydia,
Yeah.
Dana has a whole folder of Nydia burps.
I have at least 100 burps of, and they're not just like little burps. They're like massive burps that like came from like the bales of the earth, you know?
He's doing like the vowels and everything. I was like, you know,
Yeah.
I owe you
That, and then Cindy hysterically laughing at it. You know, it's a whole thing that has to get cut.
Oh, I catch myself doing that. I'll be like I'll talk to somebody, and I'm like, you know, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just ate before. You know, it was.
Yeah, I mean, we're eating on the podcast. Like, of course, people are going to burp or whatever, but she'll burp, and the way she'll burp is like directly into the microphone. Like, the mic is here. She'll put her lips right up to it and just, like, thank you. Like, that
It's not on purpose.
got into my ear hole and tickled my brain, the volume from that burp.
It's not on purpose.
People get like, you know, on their cars and they're turning it up. Oh, this is great stuff. I'm like, whoa.
I would never.
Dana makes sure to edit all of those out.
I would never. If one of those slipped through, it means I was drunk when we were editing.
Somebody be looking like, holy shit, I got the bass too up. You know, I'm like, what the it's so much. But what else was it? There was like, because I am glad that I got like all three of you on here, because I've been meaning to have you lovely ladies of the mic. We call it on the show and all that, to just because I heard you guys on Ratchet Book Club. We call it doing like the whole
The storytelling
and everything.
So fun.
And I was gonna do that too, but then I'm like, it was like a process, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this shit.
Yeah.
But you know, by myself, you know, going like that back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. You know, there's like other people like you guys did. You know, you got three.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It works out, you know, really well and all everything else. But who's the kind of podcast would you want to be on to, like, you know, talk with? I mean, I know you've been on Ratchet Book Club. You've probably been on a slew of others I don't really know yet. But, you know, I mean, hell, I know you're on mine, but thank you. You know? So, but is there some specific, like, podcasts that you want to go and, like, guest on, or, you know, maybe they can make it happen, you know?
You know, I don't know. For me, after doing Storytellers was so much fun for me.
Yeah.
And it was a muscle I had never flexed before. You know, that was really, really fun for me. There's a podcast I listen to at night. It's called Scare You to Sleep. And I talk about it from time to time on the podcast, because it's just this woman, and she has this like really soft talking, and she like tells these scary stories, and she really has, like, after doing Storytellers and then listening to that podcast, I'm like, that is a cool podcast to like flex your editing muscles and like, you know, whatever. I think that's a very interesting podcast, and I would love to like be a person to do like voice or something on her show. I don't even think she really does that, but I would love to do that. It's a cool podcast.
Yeah, go on there, just like, you know, shoot whatever, not shoot shit, but I mean, you know, do their kind of
yeah, like just do the little story. She does like all these voices and sound effects and stuff. I'm like, it's so fun. Yeah,
it's like watching Winslow or hearing Winslow from like Police Academy, like, you know,
it's exactly like that actually. Yeah, it's really good.
You know,
we actually did a collab with Twisted and Uncorked, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah,
was great.
music video for that one. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was
They were
one
so
that
much fun. Yeah.
we're still supposed to do something with them because that we were supposed to do one for Christmas and that we had to move that. And that's still something that we want to do and get back into that with them because they're fun. They know us, they know how we work.
Yeah.
We've been on with um campfire stories.
Oh, Campfire
Empire
Classics.
Classics. Yeah.
Campfire
Yeah.
classics,
Yeah.
yes.
That was a lot of fun too. That one was
Yeah.
fun.
That was just and that was nice and short. That was just like we did a game with them and it was quick and easy and they just made it so easy to work with them.
I got Ken. I think is going to be February 26th.
Mhm.
So he's going to be on because Heather is kind of quarantined
Cruising.
on the ship.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
cruising.
Wait, hold on. I said ship, honey. I didn't say boat. You're going, what the fuck? Really? You gonna put me in this? No, but no, but I love Campfire Classics, and also I think Ladies Fright podcast.
Yes.
you guys-
Yeah, we were
Me
on
and
their
Dana were on Ladies Fright.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I think they're taking a little bit of a break right now, aren't they?
I think so because the only time I heard, I think I was listening on Good Pods with Lady Frights where it was you guys were on there, and then I was like switching around, and it was like Piggly Dog, and then Chat Smash, and so Chat Smash they are fucking crazy. But I love them. I had them on like a couple weeks ago. I thought I was just gonna get one person, and actually I got all three, and they did a skit for my show.
Oh my goodness.
So it was like a
Guys, we got to step our game up.
Yeah, we're
'cause he was
slacking.
well, no, because he was like, the guy was sitting, he goes, oh, I don't know if I can get the other guys, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then I said it last night to shit, what was it, Malice After Midnight, and then it was just me, talking to Vinny, and then next thing you know, you see one of the guys come over and goes, hey, I'm the miner from like years ago, and and he has like the army helmet on, and then there's like another guy that comes in, he goes, you want to buy some spam? And I'm like,
Yes, I
like-
want to buy some spam. I
Yeah.
make some spam stuff.
and he's just sitting there, he goes, what the fuck you doing? He goes, and then just going on, and then another guy would come in, the same guy would come in, and he goes, and he drew a picture of me, he goes, have you seen this man? And I'm like, shit, and I'm like, it's a good fucking likeness too. But then all of a sudden he goes,
That's awesome.
yeah, but he just look at it, he goes, is that you? I'm like, well, you gotta get my good side, like right here. But, so,
I'm trying to get the girls to take an improv class with me.
oh, there you go.
Yeah. I actually just saw one on Instagram. Someone sent me that is local to us. So I didn't send it to you because I didn't want to go.
So now who does, like, I know Dana does the TikTok stuff, and then Cindy does all the Twitter, the Instagram.
All the socials.
Yeah, Cindy does most.
Yeah.
Cindy puts all those TikToks together too. Cindy's the boss, honestly.
And I'm not poking fun at Nydia, but Nydia, what do you do on there now?
We're always trying to figure that out, actually. She's a pretty
a
one.
writer. She's a writer. Let's put it that way.
Because me and
She writes a lot of
Nydia are
stuff.
like in the same pod of like horror stuff, and we like all the gory shit. So we got, you can't really go mean on her on that, but like.
No, she'll get you. You gotta
I'm
watch
just trying
out.
to find out,
I get yelled at. That's what I get. That's my contribution.
Mindy is really good as we'll tell her what she is supposed to be doing, and then she will immediately forget. It's a very special talent. Not everybody is good at that. You'll tell her something and she'll immediately delete it from her brain. The conversation never happened. She's really, really good at it. It's impressive. Actually.
Yeah.
It's like, and then they would just walk in like, all right, what am I doing? Here, hold these stickers.
Yeah.
Like
stickers?
this. I was like, oh, look, she's just showing up. So, yay. So, oh, okay. Anyway, so what else goes on? We call it, anybody else that you're gonna have on the show, or I mean, other than the people that through different aspects of life. Like that you're talking, about backstories and everything else, and you talk about this one went through a serial killer kind of thing and whatnot. Is there like anybody that's celebrity wise you want to have?
Oh my God, I'm sure if we could ever, but generally what we've had success recently as far as getting guests has been through TikTok
Yeah.
and seeing really interesting stories, and me just reaching out and being like, you want to be on a podcast? And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, but we've had a little bit of success through that. And
Yeah.
so I would, it would stand to reason that that's probably where we would continue to get guests from. We did have somebody reach out to us whose mother was killed, that she wanted to be on the podcast. So I'm sort of like in the works with her, and she's been doing the rounds. I think she just was on Colts, Crimes, and Cabernet, and I think
Yeah.
she did her name is Karen Bodine. I think her mom's name is
Yeah.
Karen Bodine.
Yeah, I know that one.
But she reached out to us, so that's but that was just right before we took the break. So that would probably be our next guest, I think, as far as like somebody that we would interview and talk to.
Because I've been
We're always looking for
Always, yeah.
for people to interview. TikTok just happens to be a good source of people who can talk about their story, because
Right.
not everybody can tell the story effectively. But you're on TikTok, you're already speaking to an audience.
Right.
You kind of have,
And you know what you want to say about your story because you're already
Right.
doing it. So it has been better it's been a way for us to be like, hone that skill a little bit better as far as like interviews go, because they're a little bit more polished as far as the way they tell their own story.
Yeah.
So it's just us kind of doing what you're doing in that, like, we're just shooting the shit with somebody who has a cool story,
Yeah. Because I mean, for some reason, I don't know why, like the people that follow me on TikTok are like 9 to 10 years old. I'm like, what the fuck is this about? I'm like, isn't there a parental fucking, like check mark?
I wonder if it's the cool squid. That's got to be it.
I don't know. It's just I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, so and so user, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I usually check like the profile, like see what kind of like stuff they got going on. And it's like 9 years old playing flapjacks or something. I'm like, what the fuck? I got 9-year-olds following. I'm the Piper. I'm like, something.
Oh
no! Like, all we need is like little rats or something. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Yeah, but then every once in a while, because I always wanted to get like some kind of celebrity, and I just threw names out there because other people were saying, just throw names out there, see what sticks. And I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll throw out Elvira, Johnny Depp,
yeah,
whatever, and I'm like, whatever, the president of the United States, I don't know, I'm not political.
I mean, if it was going to be like a celebrity that we would love, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for the two of you, but of course, podcasters that we are impressed by, like I've met a couple just because I like to go to stand-up shows, and I go to so I listen to comedy podcasts, so of course, if we ever got to like talk to Karen and Georgia from My Favorite Murder, like that would be, something that would be cool for me, or the girls from Lady to Lady, like those are like more famous people that I would be like, not a realistic person to talk to,
Yeah, because I'm like you guys, like for celebrity wise and podcasting, it's like you guys, Drunk Theory, and Chat Smash. And Chat Smash I had it right. Drunk Theory I'm still working on. Got you guys on here. I'm like, only now is the Drunk Theory in the Life is Complete.
You're so sweet.
I can say, well, I'm not gonna say I want to die happy. I'm just gonna like,
I listen to Drunk Theory every now and then. No, not every now and then. I do listen to them all the time, and Kelly's awesome over there.
Yeah. You don't know what kind of hair she's gonna have, but she,
yeah, it's whatever color is vibing with her mood at that moment. I mean, every time I turn around, I think now she's on green and yellow. But they're awesome. They're awesome. Yeah.
I would love to interview a serial killer, like somebody from behind bars or something like that.
No way.
I would love that.
Just make sure you have the video turned off so they don't see who you are. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because then when they get out, you're like, I'm gonna look her up. You know.
Mhm.
And then you find right outside your door, you're like, who the fuck are you? It's like,
I'd be like, you're here. Hi,
Yeah.
welcome. I've been expecting you.
I brought some Chianti. Come on in. Let's go. You know, and it's Hannibal
You
Lecter.
remember when we interviewed that lady that said I had ghosts in my house?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That
But
was so fun.
she was just like a lady I worked with, like, so she was like just a lady I worked with that was like
A medium.
paranormal, whatever.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah,
No,
I
there's
love
a
that kind
couple
of stuff.
I've talked to, and they're like spot on. Like certain things like in my life, they're like spot on with it. I'm like just talking like on here, and
Oh, wow.
it was just like, okay, really?
Yeah.
But then and I still have that person on like a second time. So I think she uh, um, is an awesome person. We call it talking to, and given like she's a medium, but she tries to help out people where if you got problems, like say at your house, like if you think there's something going on in there, she'll go and see if there is anything there. It's kind of
Wow.
like that medium on Poltergeist. You had the older lady
Yeah,
goes in
yeah.
there, and then it's like this house is clean.
This
You know,
house has
yeah,
been his cleansed.
yeah, it's clean and all that, and then just put on the glasses like I'll see you later. But no, but like that. But she's dealt with it since she was like what 3 years old, I think. Like she sees people like her family like that passed away, and then she's like, oh, I was playing with Grandpa. It's like he's been dead for like something years,
Yeah.
and it's just really weird how and then we talk afterwards, and she goes, I got a vibe from you about this and this, and I'm like, whoa, that's spot on kind
Wow.
of thing. So, but
Mm.
are you guys like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this like my dad was like right next to me. I'm like, listen, you lovely ladies, not you guys, because there's no guys, it's just women. So he always corrects me every fucking time. Yeah. So, but do you have like if there was like a ghost, or do you believe in ghosts, or do you believe of afterlife stuff, or what?
Cindy is I think, how do you feel, Cindy?
I am my preference is in the afterlife. My what I wish would be the case would be kind of reincarnation.
Okay.
You just when you go, you just are reborn.
Yeah.
And you get another chance to redo things. You may not know it, but you get another chance to redo it.
Yeah.
And it just continues that way, and your soul just continues to
Hmm.
be transitioned to the next life. That's where I would rather be. In that sense, I don't know about ghosts. I'd rather not believe about ghosts.
Every
um,
time we try to have like, we're like, oh, we're gonna have this girl come back on, that lady, the media. Cindy's like, yeah, I'm not coming to that episode. I'm like,
yeah. That being said, I listened to a podcast that's called Haunted Housewives, and
Yeah.
they talk about cases, and then at the end they do like the card uh reading
Tarot.
of the cards, the tarot
Oh, the
cards, and talk
tarot
about the
cards.
codes that are coming across and that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna skip over that portion because that kind of trips me up.
Yeah. You be on
But
there like, oh.
that's just like a thing that I have. But yeah, I would rather believe in kind of like that reincarnation thing, and kind of like just it transitions out. You're not kind of like going to heaven or hell. It's just more of a transition to see what you do in the
Yeah.
next chance you get.
Did you watch The Good Place by
I
any
just
chance?
finished it.
I love the
Did you?
way I love the way it ended. Like that for me is like keep getting to try until you get it right on earth, and then when you get it right, you get to be in heaven, and then when you're done, then you can like just transition into whatever. And I thought that was a nice way to be like, yeah, that actually kind of works for me.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to figure out. We call it how like if you pass away or something, and I'm like I said, I'm not religious or anything like that, but I'm always thinking, what happens? Like, okay, if I pass away, I'm like, is there just gonna be blackness,
Right.
or is it gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the pearly gates, as they say, and then you open up, and then next thing you know, hey, bar for days, and you don't get hung over,
Unlimited
and then
buffet.
you don't get hung over. You're like, listen, like
Yeah.
Supernatural, like the Supernatural,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know, the TV series and all of that. You're going,
Such a good show.
oh my God, yeah, it's like, and apparently they might be coming back to do a prequel. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. That's what the say is, but I don't know if that's true. But you know how Hollywood is
Yeah.
oh, let's do
Mhm.
this. So, speaking of that, what is your favorite show? If you had the time and you binge watch a show that you want to see and never had
Nydia?
the time.
Nydia's the big TV freak.
During the pandemic, a show that really brought me joy, and I shared it with Dana, and it brought her joy, was RuPaul's Drag Race. It was just, I can't even describe it. It was good for the sake of being good. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was silly. It was funny. It was uplifting. It was really, really a fun show to watch. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm into the Righteous Gemstones, and I just love that show. Also, Schitt's Creek. I
Oh
like
yeah.
dry humor.
That's one.
Yeah.
Schitt's Creek is one of my favorites. If you're gonna go with the darker stuff, then you're looking at Criminal Minds, stuff like that. But yeah, Schitt's Creek has been one of my favorites as far as comedy is concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really watch a ton of TV, but when I would say like if I was on the grand scheme of my life, Charmed was probably my favorite show of all time.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I love that show. I watched it before we had VHS or like DVR or whatever. I used to have to watch it every single,
Yeah.
Sunday night. I watched it as it came out on the WB. Like I watched it faithfully, at 8 o'clock on Sunday nights without fail.
Yeah, it's like, I'd be watching, was it like, oh, what the hell was it called? Buffy the Vampire Slayer, then it goes into
Yes.
Angel, and then,
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yeah, you got Charmed and everything else.
Charmed, and then
Yeah.
Supernatural came on right after Charmed, and that's such a good show. It's really,
Yeah,
really
they
the
had,
music's
like,
killer. Like the themes are good. It's a good show.
I think they had 17 seasons.
It's a very unwell amount of
insane.
seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like stale, like, you watch
No,
it,
it's good.
like, oh my God, again, they're gonna do something like this. I'm like, they came up with some different fucking shit. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
know.
No, that's a very creative show. It's really, really smartly done. Considering it's like a WB show, you're like, and it just doesn't stop being good. You're like, it's so good. It's so
And it
stupid,
has-
but it's so good.
And I never even knew about cryptids until I'd seen Supernatural when they were talking about cryptids and
That's how Charmed was for me too. Like there's so many things that I like learned from that show about like witchy things or cryptids or like
yeah.
even the way that they handled death on that show, where that you got to keep cut, like they would go back and do like past lives, and they
Yeah.
were like themselves like back in the 1800s, and it was like, yeah, they keep dying and getting to try again until you get it right, and you're like, I love that, and that's like sort of where I picked that up from, is like, it's
Oh,
good. Yeah.
It's
I've
awesome.
got one more show.
Alright.
One more show, and I've got to say it. It's Bob's Burgers. It's like the epitome of adult cartoons. Love Bob's Burgers. Danny with the whole family, we dressed up as Bob's Burgers for Halloween. We walked into Nydia's house, who was doing a Halloween party that year, dressed as Bob's Burger, the family, and Nydia's dressed up as my character on Bob's Burger. And me and her dressed up the same way. And she looked at us and she's like, okay, you killed it. You won this one. But Bob's Burgers, definitely. I've rewatched it like 3 times.
All right, now see, this is the question I should have asked from the get go. How did you three meet? Just boom. Did you just go to I don't know, whatever, a bar? You're going to the same
No.
school, and, PTA meetings. Hey, how you doing?
Cindy and I are related, so we're cousins. We're first cousins.
Okay.
Basically, I was born.
Yeah.
And Nydia had to deal with me.
And
yeah,
then
I met Cindy through some friends,
Mutual friends.
mutual friends, and then Cindy and Nydia started a book club
Yeah.
and invited me, and that was over a decade ago, I believe. And
Definitely.
yeah, we've been just
Together ever since, pretty
yeah,
much.
together ever since, like in a way that like adult friendships, these are my adult friends. Like these are probably my friends that like I didn't have a relationship before I was,
Yeah.
30, or 25 or what, I guess I was, yeah, about 30. And
it's so funny because it's so hard to make friends as an adult because everybody's guarded and you don't trust people as like you used to when you were kids or whatever.
you're busy and your
Right, you're
lives.
busy, right? Exactly. And Dane, I mean, obviously Cindy, she's my cousin, so I can ignore her for years, and we have no choice but to deal with each other. Dana's the type of person that I would have never thought we would have as much in common, and yet here we are, and
Yeah.
and I've always I love Dana like she's family, and she's a best friend at this point. And it's like my lifelong like Golden Girls friend.
Yeah. And like Dana, at one point I was getting married and I turned to Dana, I was like, you're gonna, and we were friends, but I don't think we were so close that to her, she was like, yes, I will help you with your wedding. I just turned to her and I didn't give her an option. I said, by the way, you're gonna be my bride bitch. And that's what I called her. She was my bride's bitch. She did everything I needed her to do. And I even put that in rhinestones on a pair of sneakers for her because that's how I roll. And she's been stuck with me since.
Yeah. Yeah. It is it has been an interesting journey for sure. Yeah.
No, but you see yourself doing we call it the podcasting because there's a lot of people that's been saying that they started out doing podcasting like say when the pandemic started because honestly you're home, there's nothing to fucking do somewhat. You're ordering food out, you're ordering alcohol out, they're trying to bring whatever. And the only time to do it is like doing a podcast. And that's what most of the people that make a podcast are doing that because of COVID. Now that stuff is pretty much, gravitating to like you could be able to do shit now and go to work and do this. You still thinking that you guys are gonna still be doing podcasting for like until you're on wheelchairs or something? I don't know.
I will tell you, from week to week, it is a question of who is going to quit the podcast. So between Nydia and I, it's week to week. Cindy's always just like the glue that's like holding this whole mess together.
There you go.
But I think it's safe to say that the two of us are stubborn enough to not be the one to throw in the towel. So I don't think either of us are going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't see you guys being
funny. It's so funny. I refuse to quit before Dana, and Dana quit before me. So one of us has to die.
One of us has to die, yeah.
So basically, it would be up to me. If I quit, these two will be like, I guess it's done.
Yeah, we'll be like, thank God.
But they also started this podcast before the pandemic. It was like a good 6 months before the pandemic threw everything out.
Yeah, it was almost a year,
yeah. So it wasn't, like so many podcasters started it because they had nothing else to do and wanted to do something. And this was something that they had a passion about early on and before.
Yeah. Because I did it, like I said, because I talk too much, apparently. But, I did it because I wanted to try to go and do something, because I liked radio's, like, personalities, it's like
right.
I mean, I know, and I say this numerous times already, I know it's like a broken record, but there was a TV show, Wkrp in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
So I would watch that show and I see myself being that person, like, like series radio or something like that, just, sitting like how Nydia is sitting right now, just Like, yeah, here's the song, have fun with it. Okay, cool. Next is gonna be this, but and then but it was just like I wanted to do like that, and then I heard my favorite radio personality, like in Long Island, actually, it's a Wolfman Jack. And the guy looks like a Wolfman actually, because the guy had like black hair, slick back, like big hair, whatever, and then he had like the highlights of like blonde in the black beard and all that. It just like it, it looked like the Mandalorian fucking scene, like there's that Wookiee, has like different fucking and look like that, but that's what kind of pro me to do it. But then I'm like, it's like, oh, you could have done a radio. Oh my god, that means I had to go back to school. I don't want to go back to school. No.
Right.
But kids,
Right.
kids, please stay in school. Make it a
Yeah,
better job.
get it done while you're young. Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
don't take my word for it. Because I've been working in warehousing for like 20 somewhat years, and
Especially since your target audience is 8 and 9-year-olds on TikTok. We gotta make sure we keep them going to school.
I'm gonna hear parents going, "What the fuck are you doing?" I didn't do shit. They following me. I didn't know they were. You couldn't put the parental advisories on there. Jesus Christ. But yeah. So that's why I was doing this whole thing. Because of radio personalities and all that. So, and I've been myself doing this for a long amount of time as what I could be able to think of to do for another season, which is
Sure.
games. I think hopefully this game's going to come in that I ordered, which I like, and I wanted to like throw something at you guys, so that way, because I want to have you guys come on to do like this specific game, and it's called a movie game.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the moral of the game is there's two synapses of like a description of each movie. It could be a movie, a horror movie. It could be an action movie, whatever, any kind of thing. And it could on this side could be a same thing. Movie. It could be a person. It could be a place. It could be whatever, a video game, and somewhat, and it has to meld together to make one name. So, and if you get it right, then because I'm going to try to do okay. Here's Crime Diner podcast, and then here's Game for a Movie over here. So it's like okay, 5 questions to see
Like a game show? That sounds
Yeah,
like so
kinda
much
like
fun. Yeah.
like the late night game show host. And then so try to do that, but then have people get the staples. Tang,
Yeah.
that way I know who wants to get in. And it's like, oh, I know, but like for instance, and I use this for everything right now. So it's like uh old man in a black suit searching for his son, to join the force, but tries to find him on the computer, but the computer only wants to play video games. Now you have to like there's one word that would coincide with both of those titles that
Okay.
makes one word, and that's what you have to try to figure out. But the guy
I
that
know the
made
first one, but I don't know the second one.
what do you think the first one is?
It's Star Wars, right?
Okay, yeah, and then
What's the second one? Something about
there's a game, there's a computer, but computer only wants to play video games.
War games?
Exactly.
War games?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
So
great.
Star War games.
Okay, that's cool.
So you do
You
it like
just killed it, Nydia. You want a high five about it?
virtual high five. you know. But it's something like that. But you guys can do it as a group.
Yeah, that's
You
cool.
know,
Yeah, that's
then,
cool.
Or if it's like 3 people in the podcast and doing separate locations, can do it like that. You're like, all right, who's gonna buzz in next or whatever,
That's cool.
and do it like that. And the synapses gets difficult because the guy made this whole thing. It's just fucking phenomenal how he thought of this crazy way of doing it, and they made a game out of it from a Kickstarter aspect. And so I put money into it, because to help go through, and it went through. So now it's just like I think it's coming off a boat, and how boats go, or ships actually. That's going to come by. It's like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever until So hopefully by early March, I'm hoping that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But I'm not gonna really. I'm gonna do like a what, how do they call that thing when you make a business a soft run, I guess.
Launch. Yeah.
Yeah, soft
Yeah,
launch, but
try it
like,
out. Soft
yeah, yeah,
do a
just to
run.
try out certain people, and then the big one would be like the third season, so that would be mostly like games. Anybody wants to do the games, and then there'll be like some kind of prize at the end. So,
That's cool. That sounds like fun.
whether it's probably going to be food from Cindy or she's like, yeah, fuck you. You're like money first, come in, you ain't coming to put this stuff up out of nowhere. But tell everybody where they could find you, where the Crime Diner can be located at, and what to entail.
We're on all the podcast sites that and apps that they can find they normally listen to. Our socials are actually all the same. They can find us at Crime Diner Pod, and any of the socials. Dana's very excited about that because she was like, when you change the socials, they all have to match. They have to match. And I'm
It
like,
truly
girl,
drove
I'm
me
gonna
insane
work
that
on
they
it.
were all opposite
Yeah.
for Wine Dine and Storytime. It
Yeah,
made me
for
nuts.
Wine Dine Storytime, it was different on every social. So, but now all our socials match, whether they go to TikTok, Facebook,
Instagram,
the
Twitter, everywhere.
Instagram, everywhere. It's Crime Diner Pod. Email is the Crime Diner at Gmail, and we're even on Tumblr. I put us up on Tumblr just for shits and giggles. So
People are going like, "What the fuck is Tumblr?"
Yeah, it's old school.
I barely know, but it's
like
there.
MySpace.
We
I'm hoping
exist.
MySpace comes back. I would love to have MySpace come back. Now that could be a podcast fucking dream network.
Yeah,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, because the audio.
It won't be
Yeah.
audio, but then you have your own site kind of thing, and you do your whole, and then you get the chats, and then you could put your banner, and you got your whole page, and you could do
You
whatever.
can have glittery gifts behind us.
Yeah, and then or have like the food comes out, it's like, here you go,
That's a
And then
great
mine-
idea.
mine would be like an octopus just coming out, like, oh my god, what the fuck. But any new episodes, like any episodes that we should look out for, or
Every Wednesday, the episodes come out every Wednesday. There is a new episode this Wednesday coming out. I think that'll be a nice long one. We launched Crime Diner last week with 2 episodes, one featuring Nydia's story, one featuring Dana's story. But starting this Wednesday, it'll be just one person. So the upcoming episode will be a Nydia story, and then the following one will be a Dana story.
I just want to apologize in advance for my because the story was so gruesome.
Yeah, she bummed us all out. It was pretty bad. But if this doesn't air until March, that'll be a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, this is like going to be like,
Yeah.
cause like I said, there's like maybe 12 or something, like
Yeah.
Right.
like,
So every week that
Wednesday mornings we come out.
every week Wednesday.
yeah. So, but we could what happened to like a Cindy story? Isn't there a Cindy story somewhere?
I used to do the little stories in between the 2 stories, and I just say something about that had to tie in with the theme.
Yeah.
I am not doing that anymore. Now I'm actually speaking more about the actual crime and the actual story that they're discussing.
Okay.
So their goal was to actually have me actually speak and have an opinion about what they're talking about, which I never had an opinion. I never gave an opinion before. And so now
it's a team effort, people. Team effort.
That's right.
So now that was their goal, was to incorporate me in their stories and have more say. And so now I speak more about what they're talking about.
All right, cool. And then also, when you find me, we just go to Linktree, linktr.ee/tattoo squid podcast. That's TA2SQUID, not the symbolic TATTOO. No. Then then you can have some guy named Rufus come by. And he's going to tattoo you. But you know, and then you get the links to merch and everything else, whatever. So mine, that's the reason. That's the reason. Reason. That's the reason why I said the link tree, because everything that's on there is differently. Like if
It
Dana
drives you crazy.
if Dana looks at it, she goes, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" I'm like, "It's not my say so. It's the social media.
Yeah.
Is like, listen, this has been taken." I'm like, "Who the fuck took it?" So, but it's like Tattoo Squid podcast, or like Twitter's like at podcast Tattoo Squid, and you got Tattoo Squid dot podcast, and it's a clusterfuck, folks. I tell you right now. But it's a good clusterfuck. Send money, I'll fix it. So, I don't ask for money, but I'm lonely. Anyway, so no, but
We don't say no to money. That's certainly
I
true.
know.
Definitely not. Buy me a coffee, Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
buy
there.
whiskey, buy a
Yes.
house, because this squid needs a house for me and the girlfriend. But thank you, ladies, my favorite ladies of the mic.
Thanks for having us on. This was so much fun.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's like get everybody grievances out, and
Never
you
ever.
want to lay on a couch or something, it's
That's
like,
right.
Listen, my life has been so torn today. It's like, oh, okay, prescribe some Benadryl. But also, just check them out. Go to YouTube. They have YouTube. So go to TikTok. They got episodes on there. They got they show like stuff that they get for Christmas, even though the candy canes are in somebody's house.
They came here and I was like, I went to record and I was like, oh fuck, I left them. So I brought them back the following week, and they got their candy canes the following week. It just wasn't on video that time.
No, that's fine. I like to poke fun. That's what. If you can't poke fun at people, what are you gonna do? It's just like. But also, go like, subscribe. When you go to the YouTubes and ours and anybody else's, rate, share,
all that jazz.
All of it.
Go and just do what you want, and just be happy with each other. Oh, and I got a question. I got a different question. This is my question I used to ask, which we all know the story about it now. I had a question like, who's gonna die first, Betty White or Keith Richards? And we know how that fucking went. And,
the wrong way, certainly.
Yeah, I know. It's just like there's a funny story about it, because we were looking at houses, and not to hold you guys up anymore. You lovely women. I'm sorry, not guys.
You're good.
I know Dad's gonna be like, what the fuck. Anyway, so me and my girlfriend were driving back, and she goes, and I'm like, you okay? And then she was like, yeah. There's something I gotta tell you, and I'm like, just merge first. I don't want to get in an accident, and then. I'm like, okay, fine. And then I'm like, all right, I'm straight. Go ahead. And then she's like, as of New Year's Eve, Betty White died. And I'm like, fuck, really? That's her off. Yeah. I don't mean it like that. I love Betty White. I was going to do a Betty White birthday and all that, but I figured if I couldn't do the birthday, I did a homage episode.
That's nice, yeah.
Which you can go to, the Tattoo Squid podcast. Just look for, thanks for being a friend episode. And there's like the Betty White thing, talking about everything from what the Betty White did when she was younger to doing this, and how old she got up to, and she would have been 100 like January 17th.
17th, yeah.
And so she like outlived everybody, and she is like the queen of TV shows. But here's the question. I almost fucking forgot about it. Who's gonna die first? Now, because the reason why Chat Smash Vinny has told me this is the question you should ask. I'm like, okay, fine. Who's gonna die first? Keith Richards or Mick Jagger? Since they're in the same vicinity, in age bracket.
I'm not sure anything is gonna kill Keith Richards. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he seems like he has been petrified at where he is. Like, I
He
don't think
looks
he's
like
going
he's
anywhere.
petrified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I don't think Keith Richards is going anywhere.
I think Keith Richards is gonna die before Mick Jagger, because I think Mick Jagger keeps making babies into his 70s, and he's going to Mexico and he's getting his baby's blood transfused into his veins.
He's stealing their essence.
It's stealing it all.
A creepy vampire. I wish I could do.
I am gonna go with Keith Richards as well.
All right, so we got 3-2. Okay, cool.
That is
Well, no,
so
because
funny.
now it's up to 3 for Keith Richards and 2 for Mick Jagger. So, if God, hopefully, they're not going to be by New Year's Eve. One of them passes away again.
Yeah, you just putting
Yeah.
that juju all out into the universe like that. It's terrible.
But then I can put the song on the thing and make it a lot better. So, play some songs and but yeah, thank you again. I'm going to send out some kind of thank you card somewhere. But thank you for being on the show, for taking the time and
Of course.
coming on here, and especially all three, because I know Nydia is limited,
Yeah.
time from what I heard. So I don't know what limited is from, but
She just forget that we had an appointment. She just won't show up. That's all.
Oh, I do that with the doctors all the time. You're like, you're supposed to be here. I'm like, I fucking forgot. Sorry. Like, all right, we're gonna reschedule for 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks come with I forgot again. So, but yeah, you're more than welcome to come back on if you got something new, something that out there that you want to something that's crazy that's gonna happen. Bring it here first if you want.
That's great. We'd love that.
Thank you.
And then we'll do that games. Hopefully, when the game comes in, and
Yeah.
get
Definitely.
everybody's perspective of see who's gonna go to the final round.
That sounds like so much fun.
So everybody go follow Crime Diner Podcast on Wednesday morning. So when you go to driving, you're gonna hear all the stuff going on. Whether
That's right.
what kind of food's gonna go for the episode, what drink, and who they're gonna talk about, and then and that's about it. But
Thank you so much for having us. This was great.
But I'm gonna shut down this and then gonna talk to the girls for a few minutes. Even though we've been talking for an hour and a half. Just but as it is, and everybody have a good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock, 3:30, something like that. So and take it easy and have a good day, and subscribe to everybody's podcast. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.